Okay? This is Yosef. Even in the darkest times, in the doldrums, literally, inside the prison of Bor, here, he doesn't shy away, not even once. It's all coming from HaShem. I believe in God. And he's firm, and he's clear. And the solutions are crisp. And there's no problem here. His intentions are clear, what he's saying. And this is a very decisive moment, of course, in his life, because the question will be, will he get out or not get out? And then, remember, Yosef was called to do one thing. What was that one thing? To interpret the dream. And now, let's continue reading Pasuk Lamed Gimel, and we'll ask ourselves a major question. Is he or not doing what he was called for? After telling this idolatry world led by Pharaoh, who is the doer, who is the teller, who is the shower, who will do things quickly and fast, after these 5 times we see his name mentioned, Pasuk Lamed Gimel 33, V'ata Yere Paro. Paro has to oversee, has to come to a decision and look for who? Ish, Navon, V'chacham, an intelligent and wise man. V'shiteu, and appoint him al Eretz Mitzrayim. And then what? Yaseh Paro V'afked Pikidim. Then you have to appoint officers, clerks throughout the country, al Eretz. What has to be done? V'chimeshet Eretz Mitzrayim. You have to tax the land of Mitzrayim. How much? A chomesh. 20%. 1/5. Yes? Usually a tax is 10%, a ma'aser. Here, there has to be double taxation. 20%, as the commentators explain. When? B'sheva, in the 7 Shnei Asava years of plenty. Why? Why 20%? Pasuk Lamed Hey, V'yikbitzu et kol ochel hashanim hatovot habot eila. What has to be collected in these 7 years? Produce. 20% taxation of the good years. What will you do with them? V'yitzbiruva, you have to accumulate this grain. Tachat yad paro, under the rule of the hand of the king. Ochel barim. You'll store things also in cities. V'shamar, but they're going to have to be guarded. V'aya, you know what's going to happen? What will be? Ha'ochel, this food that's being stored, it will be lefi kadon la'aretz. It'll be a deposit, collateral, a basis of the national budget. For when? Here it is. L'sheva shenei hara'ah. For the 7 years of famine. Asher Tiana, which will come. He's so sure it's going to happen. He solved the dream. Beretz Mitzrayim. Velo tikarei ta'aretz barav, and the circumstance will lead to what solution? That which empire will not plunge? Which empire will not fall? This empire. It will not fall in the years of Ra'av. This is the end of Yosef's advice. What major question might you ask, gentlemen, that some of the great commentators ask here?
They didn't, he just asked to interpret, but to make suggestions.
Who told him to open up his mouth and solve the dream? Classic question is asked here. He was asked to come up and solve the dream. And now, he dares opening up his mouth, and he's telling the strongest person in the world, King Pharaoh of Mitzrayim, he's telling him what has to be done. Gee. And the question is that chutzpah? Is that, he was not asked to do this thing? The braveness of Yosef, what does this represent?
True leadership.
You're very right that he's a leader. What do you say, Chana?
Fresh out of jail.
Fresh out of jail, huh? What leadership?
Taking
Why must he say it?
Because God wanted it.
This is the answer of the Abarbanel, the great commentator of the Abarbanel, that This was prophecy. Oh, did we see this as prophecy? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
The dream.
The plan, what has to be done? Again, the question we're repeating is, he wasn't asked only to solve the dream, you said, Yosef. That's what the commentators explain. So why is he going ahead and providing national, fiscal, financial advice, economic advice, what to do, how to remain above water? He wasn't asked to do that. Answer, Shlomo says, it was a prophecy. And my question to you now is, did we see this as prophecy? So the answer could be, the Torah doesn't have to tell us twice. This is what God prophesied to Yosef. And now Yosef issues it to Pharaoh. It's enough to be written once, and we'll understand that it's prophecy. This is a possible answer. Okay? Not only does Yosef have wisdom, but he has prophecy. And this apparently is the divine plan.
Also psychologist. Because he said, have somebody abroad.
Okay. In other words, what's emerging here from Yosef is that this theory of what has to be done economically either emerged from the dream, he understood in his own way, or we can say it too is prophecy. Otherwise, we're wondering how Yosef, who's a stranger, who's a slave, summoned from the dungeon for the moment to answer only lichora one question, and he does interpret the dream, how could he dare offer advice to the most strongest person in the world? And therefore, that's one of the answers by some of the Rishonim. So my dear friends, now let's get back to what Sarah Mashkim called Yosef. Okay, we'll stop here.